I'm learning this Zoom shit.
It's good stuff.
No, it is, but I went just now. I went to Zoom first and didn't have the email, and so I'm looking around Zoom trying to find Fred.
I got you.
Yeah, and then finally I realized I needed to go to the email. So then I go to the email, and then it opens up two versions of Zoom.
Well, do you not get a calendar invite to put on your calendar?
I am pretty much steeped in the Apple world, so I'm just converting over to Office 365. So the answer is I probably should, but I don't have. I'm just that's what I'm. The last couple of days since I've been increasing my activity on Zoom, I've been trying to shift over from the Apple environment
Yeah.
to the Zoom
How do you like
environment.
my new office?
I like that. That's very nice. Is that real or virtual?
Virtual.
Is it really? It's virtual.
Yeah, I got a green screen behind me. I mean,
That
yeah,
hey, it's awesome looking, dude.
yeah, it's a good one. It's a good one. You see, some of them are all distorted, but because I'm using a green screen, my hand,
Right,
my hands don't disappear when I
right.
move them around, and you don't get all that pixelation.
Yeah, that sort of, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. No, I thought, damn, Fred must be at his office.
as a matter of fact, I am at my office, but I did some rearranging yesterday. I opened my office up. I put my desk up against the wall, facing the wall, and
Yeah, well, that's where that's where mine is,
because it just takes up too much space in the middle of the room.
right,
And
and,
this
and
gives you some flexibility. I can put my green screen behind me, and
yeah,
put the Golden Gate Bridge or whatever I want.
yeah. Well, my study is more like a library than it is an office, and so I have my desk up against the wall because a computer screen. I don't want to see the back of a desk and the back of a computer screen when I walk in the room.
Right,
You know.
right.
Plus, I tend to pile shit on my desk, and that's terrible looking when it's in the middle of the room.
It is.
Which is part of why I had to reach out to you about because the strength survey.
Yeah.
I went online looking for it, and I forgot the version 2.0, so I ended up seeing the Gallup thing, and then and then I thought I'm not sure that's right, and so then I went back and I started one that seemed right because I didn't have my notes because I have shit piled up on my desk, and so
Oh, you
now
got you got the link I sent you though,
yeah,
huh?
I did, I have and I've ordered it. But I
Okay.
also started doing one of somebody else's, and you said, I mean, it turned into 80 questions, and I thought, I only know if this is right, and this is driving me crazy.
Yeah, but what you're talking about is the Myers Briggs.
No, 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 it wasn't Myers Briggs. It was somebody else. It was similar though,
Oh,
Yeah, and
yeah.
so I thought, this isn't what Fred and I was talking about. So I'd stopped, and then that's when then this morning I reached out to you, but it's I am just continuously disoriented because of the work week and the change in lifestyle so abrupt.
The
I mean, I
rhythms of
don't fucking know if it's Sunday. So when I in my days, my productivity is incredibly way down. Um, during I'm just telling you things I'm noticing about myself in this environment, and so today when I took my little walk this morning around the yard, I'm living on 15 acres in the country,
it. Uh-huh.
so and I've kind of built me a little. I have a little meditation path through the yard,
Okay.
so I was doing that, and I was sitting down today, and I was thinking, I need to start. Back when my mama raised my ass, she'd take me to church every Sunday. Okay, so you
Right.
kind of understood the week in terms of Sunday.
That's why
That
that was the starting point.
right, right, and so you're weak, but since I'm a heathen bastard now, you know it's. Um, so I started thinking, I'm gonna spend an hour every day on Sunday morning, like 10 or 11 o'clock, just doing this to reorient my day.
Yeah.
Because even as the Corona environment abates, I and we'll get through this in a minute as I look, go through the your little survey. Um, you'll see, this is an opportunity for me to jump off.
Hmm.
I'm on a train that's been moving real fast,
Yeah.
and it's slowed down enough to give me an opportunity to jump off, and maybe not break my neck.
Gotcha.
And so, even if the train starts going again, I'll regret if I haven't gotten off.
I got you.
So, anyway.
A lot of people can't do that. A lot of people want to stay on the train.
Well, let me just say, before this crisis occurred, I mean, the last 5 years of my life has been, well, trying to figure out what I was going to do to get off the train. And as well as, I went to graduate school 20 years ago, recognizing that I did not want to end up in the final train station on the route I was on. I wanted to be able to change trains. And
Mhm.
that's why I got the master's degree that I got. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I just think the coronavirus has given itself to me as an opportunity of
Uh,
grace.
that's what I was going to ask you is that you're seeing this as a window, as an opportunity to do what you've kind of wanted to do, but work got in the way,
Right,
other things got in the way, and now there's a lot of room. Whatever was getting in the way is now you've got a little more space.
right, right. So the personal challenge is to how to efficiently make that transition. You know.
Hmm.
Um, so anyway, so from there you want to go into this.
Yeah, let's go into that. That's kind of my typical intake because
Yeah,
it.
and I know, and I was supposed to get this to you pre-op, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you that, and that's part of why, I wanted to own the fact that I'm in, I recognize I'm just completely inefficient and disorganized, and some of it is innately me. Some
Yeah.
of it is the time, and some of it is not having the infrastructure that I've used to have become so dependent on in the past of, secretaries and,
Right.
schedule keepers. And
Well,
let me catch this real quick. It's my office, although I'm not on call.
okay.
Let me see. Yes, ma'am. Hello? Hello? Oh, I've just I woke up this morning and decided I was gay, so I'm pretty much going to give up the rest of the day. So I appreciate the call. A telemarketer who masks their caller ID through your
Oh
so you
yeah,
think it's somebody else.
yeah, yeah. It's coming from a relative's house.
Right, right. So you answer the phone. Right, that's for
Yeah,
work.
yeah.
Yeah. So I usually tell them something completely inappropriate and just hang up.
But
You know,
one of the things that's going to come out of this, and that's part of the process, is accountability. And I'm going to hold your feet to the fire on that.
no, I understand. I do, and I
Okay.
understand that. So anyway, but we can. You want me to?
Yeah, let's go. And then when you have a chance, scan that and email it to me so I can have it in my records. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well. Yeah. Maybe I should print it for you while I'm reading it to you.
Well, no, I mean that's
No, no. What I mean is, you ever sit? I don't know if you ever had the
well.
experience.
By the way, I'm recording our sessions.
Good.
Okay,
I
and
understand.
and I will be having it's a good reference for me for a refresher to kind of review some things if I feel like maybe we missed something. But also, I'll give you a copy of that so you can go back and watch it.
Okay. Now, when I launch my campaign for president,
Uh huh.
I'm going to have the originals.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Only but just you can keep redacted copies because it adds a sense of suspicion.
Yeah. Yeah. We'll have a black line across your eyes.
That's it. That's it. That's it. Anyway, list the three most unresolved issues you struggle with in order of significance. So I put focus of my efforts on career sustainability through elderhood.
Okay. We're going to come back to that. What's the number two?
Finding a clear vision as to what that looks like,
Okay.
and then creating the guardrails to keep me on the chosen path. Which, by the way, I read something during my meditation today.
Uh-huh.
The very last thing I read, it's just amazing. This it's synchronicity. Where is this damn thing? When I don't know if you were familiar with the ancient Chinese book of wisdom, the I Ching.
Yeah.
It's 5,000-year-old book. Well, I use it in meditation. Um, um, I obviously I use a pop translation by a guy named I actually have Wilhelm's translation, the renowned sinologist, but it's fucking impossible to read. So I have this little app with a kind of a pop deal, and I don't know if you're familiar with the I Ching at all. Have you ever used it or done it?
No, years ago I was introduced to it, but never really got
But
in.
anyway. So I was just in the when a certain thing is on my mind, which is the work you and I are doing. Okay,
Hmm.
I read it because it allows you to give an orientation for reflection,
Hmm.
and that's how I use it. And so as I tossed my hexagrams this morning, as I was thinking about our day together, and some of these points that I've just shared with you, at the end of it all, this guy gives you which is sort of Confucius's book, the Wu Wei Ching, the wisdom of the day from the Wu Wei Ching, associated with the randomness of the hexagram.
Hmm.
And so this is what it was. The final thing: any activity or occupation can be your practice. As you go about what you do, simply detach your mind from its objects, opening to emptiness in an alert state, and then you become one with what is.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a focus on being.
Right. Well, that's what. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Just,
Because the whole cosmology of the ancient Chinese was that rather than a Greco view of the world, that our essence is atomic, we're particles made up of
mhm.
other particles, made up of other particles, etc., which is kind of the basic Western view. Their view is that the essence of our reality is change.
Mhm.
So it's like as if we live in a vibration or a movement, um, and it's well, Heraclitus, the Greek, said not only that you cannot put your leg in the same river twice,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah.
so they believe that's the essential essence. So being when your environment when your external environment is in flux, then the way to be is simply to exist.
Yeah.
Um,
And to be in flux with it, right?
right, right,
Yeah.
right. But the practical
Or
aspects.
flux is really the conflict of not being.
That's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anyway, I mean, it's so anyhow, but I read that this morning after I had done these meditations here and read this and thought, well, that 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 I get really focused on, is this the right choice, as opposed to what the I Ching is sort of saying to me as I interpret it in the space I'm in. Um, the choice I make isn't as important as being in the choice.
Hmm.
And then when you're present in the choice, according, I mean, if you all that there's 3 pages of stuff that preceded. It talks about that one leads by purifying oneself and focusing one on, and it's all about of understanding that it's what you're doing isn't as important as how you're approaching what you're doing.
Got you.
Um, and then so along that, okay, I had read. I mean, this is all after I had done this thing here this deal. How have you tried to deal with these issues up to this point? So I have tried to come to a deeper understanding of my heart's desire. And Soren Kierkegaard said, "Purity of heart is to will one thing."
Well, that's what you've tried, but how have you dealt with the issues?
Not by randomly trying things.
Okay. Not with, not having a plan.
Right. By essentially fishing and seeing what pulls on the line, as opposed to, I kind of feel like Jim Bozeman, and said I went fishing with Jim Bozeman once. I don't know if you ever had that experience.
I've never had the experience, but I know who Jim Bozeman was.
Okay, well, let me tell you, Jim Bozeman will drive you out in a boat 20 fucking miles at 3,000 miles an hour, beat the kidneys out of your body, and then you land at a rig somewhere near Cuba, and then he instructs you that this is the spot, and
Uh-huh.
so you gather everything and you throw it all down like Moby Dick, and Captain Ahab or whatever.
Yeah.
You put your line in, you get it all ready, and just as you get settled in and think, well, I'm going to spend a little time here and see what it's like, Jim goes, I ain't had a goddamn strike. Let's put everything together, and we're going over to rig,
Yeah.
South 17940.
Yeah.
That, and then you get your kidneys beat out the other side of your. I mean, that's what I mean by fishing. So it's needing the charts, and so that's part of what I find the value in things like you're talking about, strength analysis or strength assessment and those kinds of things. Having some objectivity and accountability. That's what I have lacked, is objectivity and accountability.
Do you find yourself, we talked about the shiny object
Mm-hmm.
syndrome, where there's always something that's dangling out, almost kind of like Bozeman, right? There's
Well,
a
yeah, no, that's exactly right. Well, it's just, yeah, I know I'm the kid that gets a box of shit for Christmas and keeps digging in it looking for the horse. You've heard that story. Because when I see a box of horse shit, I think, well, goddamn, there was a horse around here somewhere, and I sure would be nice if I could find it. And then I create the story of how nice it would be to find the horse and how my life with the horse would be wonderful. And then after a while, I start digging, there's no horse, and then all of a sudden there's another box of turd somewhere else.
So do you find yourself frustrated with being in the moment, with just being?
No, I find that easy.
You find that easy, but you're looking to be something else.
Um, well, I have two criteria really. I have two criteria.
Do you ever find those moments, and I'm sure you do, when you find the moments when you're happy with the horse shit and you don't want to look for the horse? What does that feel like? What have you experienced in your
Well, there's
life?
well, that's no. Well, the hope in the horse shit feels good. It's the despair of not finding it, that you know
Why
that
why aren't you just accepting the horse shit for what it is? Why are you attaching a despair to that other dimension?
right. No, well, first off, because when I see horse shit, I don't see horse shit. I see the horse, but
Uh-huh.
it turns out it's just shit, and so then there's despair.
Yeah.
So it's being able to, I guess, recognize. You got me thinking about it. My passion is digging in horse shit.
Okay.
Okay.
That's who you are.
Yeah, that's I guess
Instead of being the horse whisperer, you're the horse shit digger.
well, I mean,
No,
I don't. I mean,
no, no,
we're
I'm
talking
not.
through
I'm
this.
not saying
Yeah.
that in a mocking way.
No, I know. No, you're just saying it back to me and crystallizing it a little bit.
You're, if I'm reading you right, Edgar, you're the kind of person that looks at something and says, "Okay, I've got to figure out how this thing works. I've got it. Here it is. What did it come from? I want to know more about how it arrived." And rather than just accepting the face value of what it is and what you're faced with. That you pursue a deeper level,
Right.
a continuing pursuit of a deeper level. And when you find that deeper level, you go even deeper.
Right. Yeah. I'm again. It's well the Kierkegaard quote: "The purity of heart is to will one thing." So if you want two things, then you're not. You haven't drilled deep enough.
Right. So you said that focusing, your efforts as you're aging. Um, I sense, is there an anxiety that you're feeling?
Well, it's financial security because I can quit. I mean, I can do something else. Okay, this is what I was gonna. Yeah, that was getting ready to say. That is I kind of think of it like a Venn diagram, but I've got things that I'm passionate about, and I've got things that I can do. Okay, so I want the overlap of the passion in what I'm doing, but then there's the third circle of lifestyle sustainability. So
Okay.
those three circles need to come together, and so I need to focus on what's in the center of those three circles.
Have you accurately designed the lifestyle sustainability for
I mean, do I
yourself?
do I? Yes. What do you mean by? I'm not.
Well, as to what is required, what do you have to do to is it identifiable and
Well, I mean, I can put it in several terms, but probably the most concrete is to say 350,000 a year,
uh-huh.
250 to 350,000 a year.
Okay.
That would be. I mean, that would be one vernacular, but that doesn't. I am. Given the amount of work I've done in terms of trying to pinpoint what that number should be, okay,
Mhm.
I probably could do some work in that arena too. Um, but that feels right to me. It's an intuitive sense,
Mhm.
as opposed to. I mean, obviously I could pay my bills. I mean, that kind of thing. But in
Yeah,
terms of other things I might want to do and other, will I want more than that, or will I want, will that be enough? I guess that's what I'm saying.
sure.
And it's really hard to know, but from a standpoint of, I have a choice of continuing down the career path I'm on, at the $700,000 a year range,
Uh-huh.
okay, and focusing on building up, would do like Nagum did. I mean, just work and work and work and put money away and money away so that you can blast past the stock market and all the other stuff
Right.
when it happens or if it happens. Um, but that to me personally um, makes my life seem miserable as I look forward. You follow
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah, I call that's kind of a dollars for hours work.
Well, yeah, I call it golden handcuffs.
Well, golden handcuffs is dollars for hours, but it your compensation is based upon the number of transactions, more so now, more so than the value that you're bringing.
Correct.
And when I say that,
No, no, I'm a
human
plumber.
life has a value. There's no
I,
question about that.
well, I'm a plumber. It's just I'm highly skilled, and and the
Yeah.
toilet flushes while I'm working on it.
Yeah, and there is a price that the market pays for that.
Right.
And it sounds like to segue to move away from that into a completely different venture that will give you that comfort level of 350 is there's there's an uncertainty as to how to do it. Am I am I
Right,
hearing
right,
you right?
right, right. No, that's there's there's not only there's uncertainty, but there's also I don't have any experience or competence because like I said, I'm in a career with really really tight guardrails, but great
Sure,
rewards at the other end.
sure. I get that.
Yeah.
What in your in your personal history, aside from being well compensated for being a cardiovascular surgeon and going doing the procedures and getting well compensated for that, what else have you done that has provided a fulfillment or reward, not just financially, but has been rewarding to the point that that could be something that could translate into financial security at some point?
Well, my building a heart hospital and was emotionally rewarding.
Uh-huh.
Clearly, just as I sense you probably can relate to this as well. When you're in a service profession or you get this intimate with people, I mean, those interactions. I mean, if they aren't rewarding for you, you probably wouldn't be doing it.
Right. No,
You
you're
know,
right.
so the doctor-patient relationship is a very valuable thing to me. I mean, people, as you probably can too. I can spend. I can. Somebody say, "Oh, yeah, that guy over there. He's been through this, and this." Somebody tells you about somebody,
Yeah.
and I can go. And this person may have known him for 15 years. I'll walk up to him and start talking to him and connect on them at that level, and I walk away knowing some things about that person that their 15-year friend didn't know.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so and I suspect you do that probably better than I do. But yeah, I suspect that happens to you all the time.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we when you have this bridge of trust between two people, there's a lot that comes to
Sure.
the surface because we all go through life holding things in, keeping the lid on it, um, playing that imposter syndrome. I don't want anybody to know that I have this weakness because I believe everybody thinks I've got all the shit together.
Right. Right.
You know,
And like
and
Bertrand Russell had said, the mass of men lives lives of quiet desperation. I think it
I
was
don't know.
something.
You are so much more well read than I than I am. But
Well,
that's good. It's good. Again. Um, but okay, so the heart hospital was a big success for you. Putting that together,
right.
it was a project. It was the fulfillment of a vision.
And working in teams.
Working in teams.
This is my quote. This is Edgar Feinberg's quote. I came out with this in 2017. Collaboration is the new competition. In a global economy, that's the truth. I mean, that is a truth. I think.
Hmm.
And that's because I would much rather play football than golf, baseball than tennis.
Yeah, your
I
team. You want the team dynamic,
right,
the
right,
interaction.
right, and make me run laps, and I will quit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Let somebody else do that.
yeah. I mean, well, just run by myself, wear myself out alone. Just
Yeah.
doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, it makes sense to me, but yeah,
No, 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 sure, I understand. Well, it's the fellowship, it's the camaraderie, it's the strategizing, it's all
right,
of the things that go into a team effort.
right,
And you have kind of been a team of one for the most part. I mean, you've got your staff and whatnot, but I remember when Sarah was going to medical school. John Hendry.
yes,
John Hendry said, when Sarah gets out of medical school, try to encourage her to get into academics at some level. Because if she doesn't, the smartest person she's going to interact with every day is her assistant, you know? And it that it's not a bad thing, but the intellectual challenge isn't
Right.
going to be there.
Right. Right.
And you, I know you're the kind of person you like being intellectually challenged.
Yes. Yeah. No. Right. Right.
And uh, Somerset Maugham in The Razor's Edge. I can quote that. I can quote from that. When the guy went up to the mountain to find truth, and he had all of those books that he was reading. I don't know if you're familiar with. He was reading these books on philosophy and life, and he was freezing, so he burned the books for warmth.
Right.
And when he came down from the mountain, someone asked him, "What did you learn?" He says, "I learned that anyone can be a holy man on a mountaintop." And I may be paraphrasing it,
Mm-hmm.
but he realized that he had to take it. He had to take it to the world. He had to take it to other people. Being a hermit in isolation up there, there's nothing holy about that. Anybody can be. Holiness comes from the challenges that we're faced with, and overcoming those challenges.
Right. Right. No, that is my but yeah, I agree with that 100%. That's who I am.
So as you have moved through, before we go down to some of this other stuff, as you've moved through addressing this search for vision, these answers for your future as you're aging, um, this sense of security that you want, because you know that your skill set is going to subside the older you get, and you just don't want to do it anymore. You're going to get to a point where you just burn out, and you don't want to stand there over a chest and be burdened with the stress of having this life in your hands and having to stand there and
Well, I mean, yeah, now, I mean, the reality of it is, most of my cases are done in 4 hours. Okay, but every case I start could potentially be a 6 hour case.
yeah.
So when I'm 2 to 3 hours into surgery and my lower back is aching,
Hmm.
and I don't want my physical feeling to impact my judgment for that patient.
Right.
And I'll be honest, as you get older and older and older and closer to death yourself, and you got somebody say, "Damn, this son of a bitch gonna die. This is terrible. Shit, I need a break. Looks like they're gonna die anyway. Fuck it." I mean,
Yeah.
when you're 33, you say, "I've got to do the best I can," and this guy, he's goddamn it, he's gonna make the next week if he doesn't make it forever.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, and I've told this to people just jokingly. I said, sometimes I'm at work and I said I find myself becoming the surgeon that I hated when I was younger because I am starting to have those traits. And like I said, I don't. That's not who I want to be.
Hmm.
There are other options for me that look at, and that's the whole point about where I am is I've got the well, knowing Larry Oye and all those guys, and Lester Wayne Johnson, who was a classmate of Larry's, is the director of the hospital here in Monroe, and they want me to come on faculty and be a professor and teach, you know, and that sounds fun. It sounds good. It sounds engaging, but but this artificial intelligence thing is something that's an opportunity, like I said, that links to some unfulfilled interest from when I was younger and in school, and things that I've held throughout my whole life in terms of technology and this sort of this kind of world. Um, it appeals to that sort of entrepreneurial, adventuresome soul. Okay,
Yeah.
and the assistant professorship or whatever over there sounds like a great place to retire and wait, to go to the nursing home or have my stroke. Um, it is though the most expected cap to this career.
Well,
You follow what I'm
because
saying?
yes, someone else has dictated that it's the accepted cap, right? But don't you think that, and that's probably the way it has been for the last 60 years, 70
Right,
years, 80
right.
years, okay? but you and I both know that the world has changed. The way we interact with other people has changed. Look, I'm 70 years old. Okay. I remember when 70 years old, you saw someone 70 years old or 60 years old, and you say, man, they're on death's door,
Right. No, you're right.
you know, and you have friends and I have friends who are our ages who seem to be 10 or 15 years older than we are in the way they think. Because
Right.
I think that's, you know, you and I are very much alike insofar as we have a curiosity and we want to dig in. We want to, there's more inside that needs to come out.
Right.
And you're looking for that avenue. AI, you said it resonates with you because it reaches back into how you thought as a kid, the things that interested you.
Right.
Um, and I'm sure there's probably a certain aspect of the mechanics involved in cardiovascular surgery that fed off of that.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. No, and I love, I like, my hobbies are woodworking and, playing guitar and things like,
Yeah, yeah. So the you seem to be significantly invested in this concept of the AI.
and that's where I see myself actually is at a turning point because as I move forward in this post-corona world, if I am going to pursue the consultant teaching role or whatever,
Yeah,
then I need to do certain. I need to spend money, effort, and time that I really don't fucking want to spend on continuing medical education.
right.
I'm talking about investment of 3 to 6 thousand. Go take another oral board exam. All
Yeah,
those.
yeah,
I mean, the professional hoops to play the game.
right.
And and I don't have the libido that I had when I was. I don't mean sexual libido, but I'm talking about the life force drive. When I
Yeah,
use libido, um, I just when I was 32 years old and doing all these, doing this, getting started in the career and establishing myself at the professional levels appropriate, that was my raison d'etre. I mean, it was if this fails, I don't know what I'm going to do in my life. I got to get this done. This is what I need to be doing. It was just conviction. And now it's like, this, I've done this and I can keep doing this. Do I really want to pay this price? Not just the financial price, but the physical price, putting myself to another goddamn test. 25% of the information that I have to go relearn, I have no fucking use for. I never will because I'm at that stage of my career where I know what information I need and don't need. Um, it makes me want to throw up.
are
And
you in practice with anyone now?
yeah, well, yes, yes. What's going on here is I came up here in 2017 with the contract to work 7 to 10 days a month. Okay. And my plan was is to use that other time off to develop other career interests, as and that's what happened. But I was here only 2 months when the guy that brought me here, I'd closed on the house, the little property I have here, and was making arrangements. Had my other little place in Houma for sale, and then he comes and says, "Well, they've offered me the role of professor at LSU in Shreveport, so I'm leaving." So then the hospital came to me and said, "Dr. Feinberg, we'd like you to work full time." And I said, "Fuck no,"
Yeah.
uh, um, because because while I could certainly work full time and certainly make really a lot of money working full time, that wasn't what I set myself. That wasn't the path I wanted my life on, and I
Right.
was going to lose that free time to pursue developing other opportunities.
You were thinking about winding down at
Well,
some
right,
point.
but I'm also thinking about, but also the other piece of that is retirement because I my divorce basically I passed everything on to Prissy, 90% of it, and so building back up my retirement is part of my strategy, and retirement's either got a retirement income has got to fit a shortfall from what I earn to what I spend. And
Hmm.
so if I'm looking at, after 65, less earning potential, then I need more, then I need to spend more of the time making 720 a year than 320 a year,
Right.
because that other 300 whatever goes in retirement. But it is taking a physical and emotional toll. You see, so my strategy is, well, if I can maximize my intellectual and emotional capability in the workforce, then I don't need to be on this, what I consider, squirrel cage, so that I have the security I want to have as I move into my 60s and 70s, my
Hmm.
later 60s and 70s. I mean, that's pretty simple. And because, I mean, I like to work. I mean, it's not, I'm not looking to not work, and I'm not sick, that I can't work.
Hmm.
Um,
Well,
so,
it. I know there's a big focus on the quantification of your work in dollars and cents, and the need for it as you move into retirement. Uh, and you and I both know that what we get paid is kind of a scorecard or report card, if you will,
uh-huh.
for what we do, a measure of our value. Do you find yourself pulling away from focus on what your contributing value is to whatever, whether it's to AI or whether it's as a surgeon? Take the money out of the picture. And I know it's kind of difficult to do that because there's a real need and a
Sure,
desire
no,
and
no, yeah,
whatnot.
but
But
yeah, no, I can do that. Yeah,
it's kind of like I said, if you didn't get paid, if you didn't get, what would you do if you didn't get paid? What would you like doing if money wasn't the object?
well,
And
if I wasn't paid, I wouldn't do another heart surgery unless there was no one else to do it, and I needed to do it to save your life. I mean, I've been involved in over 12,000 open heart surgeries.
yeah,
I really don't need to see and do another one. I mean,
right.
and so, um, you asked me about my partner. I'll finish it. What they did was they asked me if I'd work full time. I told them no way in hell, because I got in that trap in Homa. They were supposed to find somebody,
Yeah.
and 6 months turned into 5 years.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and so what I realized was this organization needed to know that I would give them 14 days a month now. And when they hired somebody, I would figure out a way to help interface with them. But what I told them is, this is what I told them, you're going to build a heart program here. You need an old dog, a big dog, and a new dog. Okay. I said, I will be the old dog. I am not interested in being the big dog anymore. And so they hired a new dog. And so she's a new graduate. She's actually Lebanese. No, she's not. No, she's not. I'm sorry, take that back. She's Pakistani, but she went to the same medical school training as Muhammad Alan.
Okay.
In fact, when she started applying, I found out she was from there. I called Muhammad, and she checked into her. So part of why she came here is because there was the connection. And so I committed to her that I would stay with her for 2 years, and they pay me as a mentor, proctor, whatever.
Hmm.
That's what so I get paid a day rate for when I go to the operating room as senior surgeon, and then I get paid a different rate, sort of hours, when I mentor her in the operating room.
Hmm.
So it's a really nice role, and if I could ride this pony till it died,
Yeah.
in terms of the financial aspect, I would, and then I could pursue other happy lifetimes, outside of the work. I could compartmentalize. Say that's what I do at work, because I like Sarah. She's good. She has great hands. She's a
Yeah.
good, and she's Rachel's age. So there's a little, her mom and dad are back in Pakistan,
Yeah.
and he is, and they're a very wealthy family. I think they're part of the reason there's a revolution. It's their
Uh-huh.
fault. But so
Yeah.
so I mean, there's good people to know. I enjoy the relationship. Again, it's about the people. It's about the interaction, the relationship. It's about being a mentor. It's about the patient relationships, but the physical and emotional demands of the career take a toll, and
Mhm.
they're not something that I'm going to want to do beyond 65.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I either
How
need
old
to
are you
stay
now, Edgar?
61.
61.
So I need to stay, in this game at this speed to 65 or so, 64, and then transition down into some other clinical role with less hours and less rigor um, um, as I begin to, move into that retirement phase. And but um, so anyway, that's where I am with
We'll
Monroe.
talk about more of this. We'll talk about this more later. But how do you see the AI program fitting into this from a realistic standpoint for you?
From a realistic standpoint, I think um, there's possible and there's probable. Okay, I mean
Mhm.
this company I'm working with, we are about to launch a product. It's well connected. I mean the company has good resources, and but they don't have money. So if we launch this product, I mean it's exciting to me to do this. This is um, a lot of the same challenges from building the programs I built with the heart surgery program. I also part of what I did here was build their structural heart program, their valve program.
Uh-huh.
I didn't put that in my CV, but they the new stent valves. I mean, I was involved in the marketing of the bring. I was in the research, the FDA trials on the new stent valves, and
Mhm.
came and part of what I did here, part of what my role here was to institute and start the program here, which we did in January. And so building those kind of programs is fun for me too. I like that. So I don't get the juice other than the financial juice from going in the operating room, but
Mhm.
but being in a leadership role in an organization that improves people's quality of life is something that is what the AI thing is to me. As
Okay.
well as it scratches that technical itch, and it's cutting edge, which is always juice for me. Anything, I mean,
Right.
you know, I even like when the strippers wear new outfits. You know what I'm saying? It's
Of
just
course. Yeah.
anything edgy and
Something,
touching.
something different.
Yeah.
Uh, what do you see your long-term role with the AI group?
Well, the long term role is an exit strategy. I think that we can take this company up from startup to I think the most likely possibility is somebody will acquire us that's in the data analytics business in healthcare.
Hmm.
Um, that's that's our goal. But if they don't, and if that's then it's actually the real goal is to build a sustainable, automated health and lifestyle assistant. Personal lifestyle assistant. Like basically, I tell you, we're building like an Alexa for your
Yeah. Yeah.
for
No.
your diabetes, your high blood pressure, whatever you got, whatever your
Right. The guys from Silicon are the guys that are developing it, right?
yes,
They're doing the tech, the
right.
software, the whole deal. Your contribution is what?
Um, I would have to say it's pivotal, and I had that conversation with Wally, one of the principals, today, because as we are it's a new relationship, and I've came into the role for a doctor who's sick as a friend. I told you
Uh,
that, and so I had the
Jim,
conversation with
right?
Wally, huh? Jim,
Jim.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I told Wally today that sort of the original talk was I would end up with half of Jim's ownership. It's a three-way partnership, so
Hmm.
that puts me at about what 12.5%, or no 30, half of 33, whatever the frick that is. Okay,
About
yeah,
17,
yeah,
16 and
yeah,
three quarters.
17%, yeah. So I had a conversation with Wally and said, Wally, as we're getting ready to launch this project, Jim is getting well, maybe not physically sicker. He's, you know, he gets, it's difficult. He's chemotherapy. It's like having, what's his name, Rip Van Winkle,
Yeah.
you know, working with you. You know, you work on a project with him for a couple of days, then he gets sick for a couple of days, falls
Yeah.
asleep. Yeah, I mean, you know,
Yeah.
because I mean, poor guy's got a deadly disease. But I kind of told Wally, is I finished that certification class with MIT. I've made some network connections there. There's an opportunity to pursue a relationship with GE Healthcare with one of the executives in Africa who I developed a relationship with in the course. And I could start working that relationship and trying to do that and go down that road. Um, and so
So
I've kind of,
networking is
right,
is a major contribution, right? Put
right.
putting the entities together. Uh,
But the other thing I've
what
done
about
is
fundraising?
I
Capital.
well, my skills for them are I've been in the venture capital fundraising world on both sides of the table, both being presented to and presenting. Um, I have experience raising money and have raised up to $750 million, which is a profound amount of money,
It
I
is a
think, in our
lot of money.
economy. Um, and um, I'm beginning to recognize Wally's probably got the most business leadership sort of experience because he's built businesses before and sold them. But he's not good at driving the train. Um, you know, I mean, and I don't know whether he's distracted by other things or whether this is just a minor thing for him. You know, I
Hmm.
mean, he lives in Pleasanton, California, which has, I think, the highest average real estate of any ground in the United States. You know, so
Yeah.
his neighbor is, what's that old boy's name? John Madden.
Oh,
That's his next door neighbor.
wow.
Yeah. So you know, I mean, so but our conversation with John with him today was he said, well, Edgar, you know, I just want you to know. He says, so I told him, I said, look,
How old of a guy is Wally?
he's our age. I mean, he's you know he's got gray hair. He between 55 and 65 probably.
How old's Jim?
Jim is probably 68, 66.
And you've got one other player.
Tom Elias, who's a IBM software engineer, is in his 30s with a new baby.
Hmm.
So this is what I told Wally today. I said, Wally, um, given where we are and, you know, and the difficulty in putting all this together with the locations, I said, you know, I think I'm bringing a great deal of value here. And I know you guys worked together for 5 years with Jim before you've been to this point and you're equal partners. And I said, but honestly, I said, I think my role here is, you know, whether you guys dilute it or not, you know, but I think I should have an equal share, or if I don't, then I want to have at least half of Jim's ownership, and
Hmm.
then the 5% commission on any venture capital money raised until until 1 year after I've had an executive role with a salary of 350,000 or greater. So until the company gets to maturity where they could pay me as a chief medical officer at 350,000 or greater,
Hmm.
then I would get 5 points on any venture capital money raised. Because I will be the guy that is the doctor. It's a healthcare company. When you go to venture capitalists, I'll be the doctor that stands in the room saying I'm the chief medical science officer, and
Yeah.
this is what this program does, and
You're the credibility guy.
right, right, and I do have, you know, I mean, I spent the money. I have Harvard behind my name, and now I've got certification from MIT. So, you know, I don't know if you know this or not, but 70% of all venture capital money spent in the United States, the up or down on whether to spend it, vote. 70% of the votes, yes or no, on all VC money spent in the United States is made by somebody with a Harvard degree.
Wow. That's strong.
So I'm the guy. I mean, that's what I bring to the room, as well as, I mean, I bring those relationship potential networking potential, but also bring experience and the academic credentials,
Hmm.
to be in the room. I
Yeah.
mean, I can be a complete buffoon, but at least before I start opening my mouth, I'm
No, but I mean, you bring more value than just the MD connotation,
right.
degree, and
And I've successfully built a $75 million specialty campus right there in Lafayette, which you've seen.
right.
I mean that whole concept. I mean, I let everybody in the room claim credit for it because that's how you do it.
Hmm.
But between you and I, that idea started with me in 1999, and then the first person I went to was Ed Nagum and talked to him about it because I knew I needed somebody that was a thought leader.
Hmm.
He was the first one to convince, and then next was David Baker. I mean,
Hmm.
but I had like I said, I had a complete strategic plan from this is what I do, one, two, three, four. And all along the way, I knew how to grade myself and say, well, this is working, this isn't working, you know.
Do you have any agreement with these guys yet?
I have a letter of understanding, but I'm going to follow up the conversation I had today with a letter to affirm it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I mean, it's until you can nail something down in writing. It.
No, I know, no, I understand that. I'm not, and that was part of Jim McGee because Jim McGee was involved with me early on with these guys, but he backed out because I said he didn't have the heartburn. They gave him too much heartburn,
Uh-huh.
and and I understand that, but actually that's an opportunity for me because as I mature the program, and when we start raising money, and we'll be looking to raise money by December, I believe. I think it's possible. Certainly, if we're not looking in the next year, then we're done. We won't. We'll be surpassed by those. Everybody thinks they have a great idea doesn't understand that great ideas come out of a sort of a transpersonal milieu. And the first telephone conversation, while it wasn't just Graham Bell, and Rosa Parks wasn't the first person not to sit down. I mean, all those,
Right.
we point to one person, but ideas bubble up from that wellspring of creativity,
Sure.
that humanity.
Yeah, and that one person is the representation of all of that collective
Right,
activity and energy and intelligence.
right, right. So no, so that's the sort of urgency of all this as I see it,
Hmm.
and as well as the pivot to the traditional end of my career, like over at the medical school,
Yeah.
is perishable. You know what I mean? If I
Yeah.
don't do that in a certain time, then that goes past me.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why this is.
You and I are not the hostess Twinkies that can sit in the pantry for a long time. We're the low fat milk that if you don't drink it in the first 3 days, it's sour.
Yeah, yeah. No,
I
I
mean, really, I know it's a.
yeah. But I ain't mad about it because there's a lot of aggravation that I used to put up with, and now I just look at people and say, I ain't putting up with that shit no more. I'm too old. Thank you, and just
Well, yeah.
walk away.
And just remember, Colonel Sanders was 66 years old when he started peddling his seasoning for chicken. And that evolved into Kentucky Fried Chicken. He was 66 years old.
Wow.
A lot of people don't forget that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and one of the things is I started reading and learning over the years, learning more about Carl Jung, and because the role that he and Freud play in modern society is a lot deeper than people realize, and I have the collected works of Jung, and it are volumes. I showed you one of them, but all the volumes stacked together on my shelf are about that long. Okay,
Uh-huh.
and it's incredibly dense and thoughtful intellectual work. It ain't fluff.
Right.
80%, 70 or 80% of that he wrote after age 50.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's like mind-boggling.
Yeah. I mean, that age is a state of mind. I mean, there's certainly a physical aspect to it, but so much is a state of mind as far as some people resign themselves to the fact that I'm too old to do that.
Right, because I can't do what I used to do anymore. I can't do anything, and
Yeah.
and that's And that's, you know, I definitely, well, I would, I'm so inspired by people like Hawkins, Stephen Hawkins and stuff. You know, I mean, my God,
Yeah.
yeah, you know, I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way in hell I have that kind of strength of ego and personality
Yeah.
to be that. And so, if I can have like 2% of that shit, that'd be wonderful.
Yeah. No,
Uh,
it's yeah, it's you just you've got to stay focused. You've got, and what we're going to work on doing is getting a clearer vision for you moving forward, because once you do that, I think that's going to help with the guardrails. That's going to keep you on track. That's going to keep you focused, and that's going to make you adjust easier when things go awry.
right, right.
And I think, I believe what will happen is you'll develop over the next several weeks, months, you'll develop a better sense of being, self-worth. You'll become more convinced of your capability and your position than you are right now.
Well, that's good because it's true. A great deal of, you know, you say a word there. It's inspired the thought because a great deal of my self worth is from being a heart surgeon. I mean, it's profoundly influential in our culture and society, and but more fundamentally than that is I see myself as a healer,
Mm-hmm.
and so I bring that into anything I do, and so that, you know, that's and that's part of why I like this tech company, because it brings together, you know, helping people on a medical level, and at the same time it scratches that itch of that I have always
Yeah.
had for, you know, artificial intelligence and the depth of the cutting edge nature of what I'm doing, because
Yeah.
I am working on I'm the same as the guy that was working on a silicone chip in '77. I'm one of those people,
Yeah.
or the guy designing a rubber formula for Goodyear in 1919 so they can have a tire that stay inflated.
Yeah.
You know, I mean that's where I see the world I'll enjoy playing in.
Well, and look, you've got and I was coached a few years ago, and one of the things by a consultant coach, speaker coach, and I told him, I said, David, I said, at the time I was 67 years old. I said, I'm the old gray haired guy. You know, I said, a lot of people coming up in the industry, they're young, they're 30s and all of this. You know, what's my contribution? He said, Fred, he says, you've been through it all. You've had highs and lows. You've been in different industries, and you have a 360-degree view. And that's what I'm telling you that you bring when we look at ourselves as aging. You know, there's a lot of seasoning, there's a lot of deep experiences that we've had that young people have never had. They're going to have, but
Mhm.
it's that voice of experience that you're able to bring to the table that's very credible, regardless of what you might think or what maybe you have been led to think about an avenue of thinking. When we talk about the imposter syndrome, we talk about, it's that, how do we value ourselves and how do we see ourselves? Well, I would never tell this person that I have this vision because they don't think I'm smart enough to have that kind of vision. So we buy into that self-defeating perspective. And we've all experienced it. Well, what would my partner think, or what would my wife think, or what would this relative or this business partner or this friend of mine think if I came up with this harebrained idea? But it's my idea, and it's something that I've nurtured and fostered and just fed in my head for 20 years, and no one else has known about it. They say, well, you're crazy, you can't do that. And and I think we all, it's something that I speculate you have to break out of it as well, because we all have those chains that bind us.
Yeah, yeah.
and
Well, no, that's
and we have to break free and be ourselves and just put it out there.
yeah, yeah. Well, mine is fundamentally a Northern European Jewish. No, I mean it is
Yeah.
because it's you get there by going through a structured program. You
Hmm.
go to school, you go to medical school, you go to residency, and you follow the career path.
Yeah.
And don't complain. Oh, why should I complain? Me?
There's a discipline involved, and the
Yes.
discipline works, and
No,
there's
it
no
does.
there's no margin for error.
No, no, and tradition and all that shit has held them together. But I mean, but that's, uh, but tradition not only holds you together, but it can hold you back.
Yeah.
Um, so it is fundamentally it's a challenge of discernment,
Hmm.
which is what I don't know. I did I tell you I went on a vision fast to tell you that.
No.
Yeah, okay. In 2016, September of 2016, I went to the School of Lost Borders for a rite of passage. It's kind of it's a touchy feely thing. It's some people would call it New Age, but it's not New Age in
Was
terms of
there some in New Mexico or Arizona?
it's New Mexico. Yeah, it's called the School of Lost Borders, and
It's a Native American thing, right?
well, no, it's actually a depth psychology thing that has merged with Native American cosmology in a sense, for a better sense, or cosmology maybe a bit strong word, but they focus on um, I mean, the a priori is it really life living is a symbolic event, and that we traditionally all cultures have marked rites of passage like first communion or puberty and then
Hmm.
adulthood and then elderhood and that is true in all cultures, and it's true in the Catholic faith. I mean, you have the sacraments. I mean, we
Hmm.
see these rituals in all of society, and yet modern post-industrial society has, to a great degree, well, has clearly um, hierarchized itself in a sense, so that there is no religion up to or higher than scientific analysis and thought.
Hmm.
That is the religion of the post-industrial world. And so the traditional ceremonies and things like that have fallen away in terms of our individual cultural value of them. And what the School of Lost Borders believes is that these are important things to maintain for emotional stability of the individual, as well as emotional stability, if you will, for the culture.
Hmm.
That these things are unifying events, and so um, what I did was recognizing this challenge that we're describing here of where my career path is going to be. I've been doing this shit since I went to Homa. You understand what I'm saying?
Yep.
I almost died in 2006 and seven.
I remember.
Yeah, and so and part of why I got a divorce is because, well, the reason I got a divorce, probably the sole fucking reason I got a divorce, if you had to put it in a single phrase, it would simply be after I got well, Prissy was freaked out because during my illness, she almost lost her security. So she wanted to make sure she had more of that. And I almost lost my life. So I wanted to make sure I had more of that.
Yeah.
Both are reasonable things to be focused on.
Yeah.
Very reasonable things to be focused on. But I couldn't focus on that, and she couldn't focus on hers, and us be happy with each other. And it culminated into one day we went to the guy's name, that son of a bitch. Not happy. The Davis guy that works for Northwestern Mutual. Happy Davis's little brother,
Um,
Taylor Davis.
I don't know Taylor.
Well, Taylor Davis. Taylor
Mm.
Davis is, I don't know, probably 5 years younger than me, but he's, when we moved to town, of course, he was the old man Davis's youngest son. So he called on me at, that old office I started with Bustani.
Yeah.
So, I started a relationship with him. And so after I got sick and had Rachel's wedding when I wasn't working and, all that kind of shit, and then have two kids, well, the tuitions I was paying for schools. I mean,
Yeah.
I've, Columbia, Duke twice, ESA. Um, so when it was all done, I was getting back to work and I was starting to get back into it. And so, we had to sit down and meet with Taylor and talk about our retirement stuff and the insurance products that we had. And I got there a little late because I was in OR, and I got there and Prissy and Taylor in the office are already talking. And they decided that they decided before I got there that I would need $6 million in a qualified retirement program at 65 to retire in the lifestyle that Taylor and Prissy decided we would need.
Uh-huh.
That's the environment I walk into.
Yeah.
And so I look and I said, well, I looked at the numbers and I said, well, so what's your strategy for getting there? And so he said, well, 10,000 a month or whatever, that. And I said, well, I said, well, it sounds good. And I said, however, at our current burn rate, I don't know what I can do to make that amount right now. Understand, I just got out of the hospital. I just paid for, well, yeah. I said, so I'm having a little trouble buying into this program. Mm, you know, so we talked a little bit anyway. We kind of left, and then Prissy and I got home, and I said, and Prissy's like mad at me. You don't want to do this, I said, well, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. And so finally, I said, look, I said, Prissy, if you want to do this, I think it would be wonderful for us to have $6 million in a qualified retirement program at 60. I said, I would love to have that. It'd be fabulous.
Yeah.
I said, but if we're going to do it, I said, you're going to need to get a job. You know what she said to me? You're an asshole. And so I said, wait. I'm not being a. I said, so I wrote it down on a piece of paper. If you would like for us to have $10,000 a month to save so we can have $6 million at age 65, you will need to get a job because I can't make any more money than I'm making. And from that day forward, she just thought I was the biggest dick and asshole she ever knew.
Yeah.
Um, because she, God love her, she's very introverted. If you'd done a strength analysis on her, you would have never sent her to be a real estate agent. I promise you.
Yeah.
She might be in the industry,
Yeah.
somewhere in the back of the marketing office, or but
Yeah.
but not the person that goes, "Hey, Fred, let me show you a great house."
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah.
um, anyway, so that's what happened to my marriage. That's what. But I've been on this odyssey of just trying to figure out where I want to be in my next stage of my career. Because after I had my surgery, I fully understood. This shit's going to end, and I could very well be sick, not be able to work, but yet still be very well alive and able to work at something quite productive.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, I need to be moving in that direction because, I that's what I want for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went out to School of Lost Borders for the Vision Quest, which was like 3 weeks. We went out, we did some retreat, 2 weeks of retreat basically. I went 5 days, 4 nights in the desert by myself with only 6 gallons of water, and with a blanket and a tarp. Um, and and we I mean, it's supervised. I mean, you have a way to, you got a horn, you can blow a whistle if
Yeah, sure.
snake bites or some shit. And you go back and you tell everybody there's a big map where you're located. And there were like 16 different people, that were doing the thing at the same time because the group's important for the feedback. But through that time, I told you all that to tell you this. What I learned, because you get ready for the whole thing and you go out there and then you look for the lesson that nature has for you. And so, and I had my little notebook and my pen and paper, and I wrote. And what I realized when I was out there, um, I was just fucking bored. Okay, I was bored out of my fucking mind. Okay, so I'd walk around and I had my little walking stick that I broke off, and I had my little nation sack, my little bandana,
Yeah.
and it's out there in the desert, beautiful rocks all on the ground. I'd pick up little rocks and put them in my bandana. I think it's a great rock. It's pretty. I think of things I could do with it, make collages, just because you got
Yeah.
plenty of fucking time. And I built a sundial with a stick. I had a compass so I could, find true
Yeah.
north, so I'd know what time it was. And shit. Learned a lot about the stars, and so when we go back, we all have to sit around in a circle and talk about, what did the spirits teach you in in nature. And I said that, so this is what as I wrote it down, my narrative, I said, I was really bored. I said, I spent a lot of time collecting rocks. And by the third day, I was very weak. By the fourth day, I was really weak. In the morning of the fifth day, it took me 2 hours to drag my ass 600 yards,
Wow.
just because I'm going uphill and stuff, around rocks. And, I mean, I could have walked straight, but,
Yeah.
it's not paths. You got to go through.
Right. Right.
And, but on the fourth day, I had this big old bag of rocks, of all these little special pretty rocks. And I was thinking, this shit is heavy. I'm tired, but these rocks are beautiful. So I see this one little rock on the ground as I'm sitting there, in my little circle staring at the space and contemplating my navel. And I think, this is really beautiful. In fact, it was kind of yellowish and it looked from a certain angle like the Pieta, the
Yeah.
Michelangelo, the statue of Mary and the Jesus. And I thought, man, I got this. This is a special. I got to have this rock. I know I got a lot of rocks, but I got it. So I put that in my little nation sacks. And I started to get up. When I started to get up, I put my stick down to help me pry up, and it broke the stick, and I fell back down. And then I look and I see a rock look just like the one I just picked up, the Pieta rock, only it was 3 times bigger.
Oh,
And I thought, damn, another Pieta rock. I got to have this one too. And I thought, this is fucking bullshit. I can barely walk. I'm so goddamn hungry and tired and, just
yeah.
fucked up.
Yeah.
And I'm collecting rocks in a land of rocks. So the whole ritual is you come back through the circle, and then when you leave the circle, you re-enter you go into the spirit world and you re-enter the real world where there are people and things. Okay,
Right.
that's it. And so when I came back through I sat down at that, as I threw away my rocks, I grabbed that little bitty Pieta rock, and I thought, symbolically, I'm going to save this rock. It's the one rock of all these I'm going to save, and I'm going to carry it through the circle. And then when I get through the circle, I'm going to throw it in the fucking river and leave it here.
Hmm.
Because it's a symbol to me that all these 5 days in the desert, starving and bored, I need to discern what rocks and bullshit I'm going to carry around with me for the rest of my life.
What to let go.
And that's why I said this is, and it really is. I mean, it sounds far fetched and a little bit, Nancy
Mm.
Reaganish, but
I get it.
yeah, it's because of the way probably you and I bring information in, in such a thinking way that for me, feeling, was, I got to get the true feeling value of rocks.
Yeah.
Rocks are rocks.
Yeah.
my feeling relationship with them was more internalized and bringing myself down by carrying all this external shit with me.
Yeah.
So that's how that worked.
Okay. Let's talk about next week.
Yeah, I appreciate the time. So I didn't.
No, no, that, um,
And I got my notebook, by the way. See, that's what I was showing you. So now I can keep my shit together.
good.
Yeah.
Well, I want you to do get this questionnaire back to me, and we're going to talk about these goals next week. Before then, I would like for you to, I want you to take that Strengths Finder test. Maybe you can do that this weekend.
Now I ordered it from Amazon. Do I can do the Strength Finder test by signing up online, though, right?
I guess you can.
Or
I
do I
guess
need
you
a book to do it?
can. I don't know. I guess you can do it online. Yeah, I would imagine you can do it online.
Okay.
I'm just so much in the habit of, I have a supply of books I'll give to my clients and tell them to read it. And
Right. No. Right. No, I get it. No, I get
you
it.
wind up going online and taking the code. If you just pay for it online, you can do it. But get me a copy of that, and I want you to study it and see how you fit into those descriptives.
Okay.
And we'll talk about that next week.
All right.
Okay.
Okay.
And
And I assume you want to be paid at the end of the month. Is that okay? Monthly? Is that?
yeah, we can do it at the end of the month. Usually I do it up front, but the end of the month's fine.
Okay. Well, yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't know what.
I'll send you an invoice.
Okay.
Uh, you can either send me a check, or you can do a PayPal
I'll do probably a PayPal.
or Venmo. You do Venmo?
I do both, but PayPal will link directly to my corporate account.
Okay. I mean, that's fine.
Yeah.
Whatever works. PayPal's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. All right.
All right, man.
All right. Sounds good. I may be able to do Venmo through that account too, though. So I'll look.
Let me ask you something before we get off the line here. You know, I'm in the process of putting another mastermind group together, and you will be part of that. Do you think that Wally and Jim and Tom would be a fit? Now, the mastermind is just I facilitate
I'm glad you brought that up.
interaction.
Let me brief you real quick, okay? And I meant to bring this up. I'm sorry I talk a lot.
That's okay. You're supposed to talk a lot.
Yeah. Well, this morning when I talked to Wally, had my conversation, I was, one of the things I said to Wally, look, if it's any doubt, that, of my commitment to the program and why I should have, a equal interest of partnership, I said, I want this to be successful. In fact, to the point that I see our biggest hurdle is, not yet done a good strategic vision. We don't seem to be on different pages, and we've got our lovely friend Jim, great guy, but he clearly goes after. And first time he heard me say it, I said, but he does chase after shiny objects, and he laughed. And that's when he said, well, as medical director, he said, honestly, Edgar, I speak to you now 10 times more than I speak to Jim. Because, and that's when I said, and that's why I want to talk to you. I said, I've hired an executive coach for myself. I said, because I understand that I want this to be successful. I want to be successful in this role and bring this company along. I said, because we need to do the strategic planning work and we need to get that done. And he said, he says he agreed. I got him to agree to it. I mean, he agrees to it. I didn't get him to agree to it. He understands that he's been there before. And he said, honestly, Edgar, he said, maybe a guy in Louisiana might be less expensive than somebody in Silicon Valley. So, and this is what conversation, and he said, what do you think? And I said, well, I'll be honest with you, Wally, and I'll be honest with you. I said, was Fred Reggie, and I told him, I said, Fred is well experienced, he's well connected, he said involvement beyond the state of Louisiana. I said, St. Jude and things like that. I mean, I'm aware, the things I'm aware of. I didn't go into the story about the French travel plan.
The Concorde.
I started to say he was a co-investor with Concord, but
Right.
Anyway, and so we agreed that unless he can identify a firm in Silicon Valley that has a relationship with funding sources. In other words, some of these venture capital firms, may have a relate. So unless you have somebody, which probably not likely, but so he's going to give a little call around Silicon Valley and see what he can figure out. But he's interested in meeting you.
Oh, good.
So, so I really think this really, and I think it's very, very possible, and I think probable that you could end up doing the work for the organization. And I'd like
I'd
to
love
see
to.
that.
Sure.
I'd like to see that. So I wanted to let you know that, and I really think that the way you and I, the way I'm doing this, of doing this for me, and
Sure.
then if those guys see it, and then then it's much better. I think a much better way for them to get introduced to it.
Yeah. Good. Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, man.
So yeah. So next week we'll talk about maybe reaching out to Wally, or maybe I get him to reach out to you.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Sounds good, man.
All right. Great.
Have a good one. Do your homework. I'm gonna hold you to the fire now,
All right.
and I'm gonna be sending you another list of questions.
Oh Lord. Okay. All right.
Hey,
All right. No, I ain't mad at you.
no, you. I don't give a shit.
All right. Thanks, brother.
Okay, man. Take
All right,
care.
bye. You too.
Bye.
Thanks.